Hi, everyone. My name is Riche Holmes Grant, class of 99, Columbia Law class of 20, wait, class of 2002. Yeah, we used to say 2002 back then. So I am also an entrepreneur in residence here at the Nelson Center. This marks my first full year, and I've already told the Nelson Center staff I'm not going anywhere. But I am here today doing this event because I am such a strong believer in mentorship. I had really great mentors along the way. My first mentor I actually had when I was 14 years old, and she's now in her 80s, and we still keep in touch. So I believe in the African proverb that we've named this this talk after, each one teach one. So that when I learn things, that it's my responsibility to pass them on. And I am absolutely thrilled today to be part of this with one of my many mentees, an extra special one though, Lauren Brown. So I'll turn it over to you, Lauren.
Absolutely. Thank you. Welcome. Hi, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Lauren. I'm a senior here, and I'm from Atlanta, studying business, entrepreneurship, and organizations. And my journey here at Brown was kind of more straightforward than I thought it would be. I came on campus, I got interested in entrepreneurship, started taking some classes, but as I got into my junior year, I kind of realized, I've kind of been flying solo this entire time, and I'm the type of person who tries to be as independent as possible, even when it's not the best thing for me. And so I got into my junior year, I started doing some B-Lab programming over the summer, and I met Riche there. And I said, she's really cool. She seems to really have her life figured out. So let me talk to her. And so Riche gave me some advice on the startup that I was working on at the time. And I made the leap, and I emailed her after the fact and I said, hey, I don't know if you remember me, but you were really helpful. Your advice really gave me confidence to really communicate my message differently for my startup. I would love to take the time to meet if you have any availability, would love to meet. And it's been magical ever since. We've known each other for almost 2 years now and are very supportive of one another. And we want to share that magic with you all. So that's why we are here today, both to teach you how to do it at Brown and also how to make the most of it beyond.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. We should also mention too, our relationship through Women's Launchpad. So I want to acknowledge them as well. So we know each other through multiple channels, and we'll talk a little bit more about what they do as we move along in the presentation. I do also want to acknowledge, I think I see at least one of my students who I've met with during my office hours. Is that Alex in the front row? Hi, Alex, how are you? So I believe in continuing relationships. When you meet someone and you have a connection, you just grow that relationship. So I met Alex the first time I actually came to visit Brown as an alum, which was in the fall of 2019. So I'm a person who sticks around. So that's another thing we'll talk about too in terms of relationships between mentors and mentees. So let's talk about what we are going to do today. The first thing I think, which is on a lot of people's minds, is how do you find a mentor, right? So we're going to talk about some really great tips that we've both used that we want to share with you. And then we're going to have some hot seat questions. So for this one, we'll need some volunteers. So think about if you'd like to volunteer. No pressure, but there are prizes involved. Oh, and by the way, I do have a prize for the first attendee who came, who is, let's see, Alexis Cruz. Congratulations, you have won a $25 Amazon gift card. So round of applause for Alexis for coming through first. Then we're going to talk about some mentee do's and don'ts. And because we have a small group, I love intimate groups. So feel free, if you have questions, we don't have to make this super formal, to just jump in and ask a question. We will have a formal-ish Q&A, but feel free if you have questions throughout to ask. And then we have a really exciting initiative that we want to share at the end. So that's what we're doing today. And I will now turn it over to Lauren.
Absolutely. So let's start with where to find a mentor. Just curious from anyone, does anyone here have a mentor? And if so, would you be willing to share really quickly how you found them?
Hello. So yes, one of my mentors is someone that we found through actually a technology that we used for Maggie and my venture. And this person was like the creator of this technology. And so we just actually emailed him and reached out and we're like, hey, we have this question. Could we meet with you? And it was pretty awesome because he kept on being very open to meeting and guiding us. And yeah, it's a great help to points.
Awesome. I just wanted to give that as an example because we all find mentors in different ways. For me, it was me realizing that I needed help just trying to figure out what I was going to do after Brown. For you, it was something with your startup. And so you see this list here. There are a bunch of places at Brown where you can find mentors. You have a dedicated set of names and resources here at the Nelson Center, which we can get into a little bit more. For undergrads, there's something called the Women's Launchpad for juniors and seniors, where you get paired with a mentor based on your career goals, your academic goals, which is really cool. And then there's Brown Connect. Brown Connect is kind of like LinkedIn, but only for Brown. And so you can also see different opportunities that are being offered by Brown alums there as well. And so I would really encourage everyone here to explore those resources because they are pretty valuable and a lot of them are only open to Brown students. So take full advantage of that. The second two pieces, the personal networks and the jobs and internships, the key theme here is just to start being more aware of what your professors are working on, what your family members are doing, whether that's what they're doing career-wise, academically, it doesn't matter. Just start picking up on what people around you are doing and what they're interested in, and you'll slowly be able to weave together things that interest you. And that will, in the end, help you find a mentor as well, because they'll have the expertise that you're interested in, they'll be in a field that you're interested in, and you'll already be able to start generating questions that you want to ask them.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Lauren. I certainly get a lot of asks from people who I know just through my network. Could you mentor my daughter, my son? My sister is in the film industry, so she gets a ton of requests, but you know, it's like, and she can't take everyone, but we'll talk about some things that will make you stand out when you do approach people, but definitely make use of your existing networks. And then I want to share a story with you about how I found one of my mentors who actually many of you have probably heard of, Martha Stewart. So I, years ago, 2013, 2015 was when I actually made the connection with Martha. But 2013, I started a baby accessories line with my daughter, just really based on products that I needed that I couldn't find in the marketplace. And really, it was during my maternity leave from my other venture. And I thought, okay, I just need something to do. And even if this goes nowhere, I just want to do it. But then I did get really into it, and we launched on her first birthday in 2013. And I started blogging about what we were doing behind the scenes to drive traffic to our website. And that was things like making homemade baby food or what craft we did on a particular day. And people started telling me, random people who didn't know each other, wow, you remind me so much of Martha Stewart. And like after the 10th person, I said, okay, maybe I need to step back and really look at how Martha built her empire. I mean, I've always admired her, but I was never someone who grew up saying, I want to be like Martha Stewart. And I do know people like that. But I said, let me learn about what she did. And I read a book that she wrote, actually based on a talk she did in prison about entrepreneurship. She helped a lot of women there, and she turned the talk into a book. And in the book, she talked about how Julia Child was her mentor in her mind for a while until they actually met. And I've never thought about that concept before, like someone can actually be your mentor in your mind. So I looked everywhere to find everything I could about Martha Stewart, how she built her empire, you know, what are the things that make the Martha Stewart brand so strong. And then I found out that they were doing an event at the Martha Stewart headquarters in New York, and anyone could go, you just had to pay, it was a conference. And so I went, and I brought my baby accessories with me. I have a bib that when I meet celebrities, I get them to sign it. And I was standing at the cocktail hour, and I saw an editor. I remembered her name from the masthead. And so I pulled her aside and I said, it's so great to meet you. I love what you're doing. Wondering if you could sign my bib. And so she says to me, well, I think you really want Martha to sign it. And I'm like, well, yeah, I'm trying to get to that, but I want you to sign it first. And then she gave me her card and she said to me, if there's ever anything I can do for you, let me know. And so many times in my life, people have said that to me, and I have not taken advantage of that. And afterwards, I was like, you know what, this could be a make or break moment. So I spent a week thinking about it, and I emailed her a week later, and I said, I hope it isn't too soon, but I just thought of something, a way that you could help me. Thanksgiving is coming up. I have these amazing bibs for toddlers. My daughter is the same age as Martha's grandson. Would you hand deliver this bib to Martha? And she said, sure. But I also think you should send another bib to another editor here who has a baby. I can't make any promises, but I'd love to introduce you to the brand. So a month later, wrapping this up, I got an invitation to join the Martha Stewart American Made Market. The bib made its way to Martha. I wrote a really nice note about how I felt like when I read the book, she was speaking directly to me, which is true. And we became partners. The Bambini Wear brand became partners in the Martha Stewart American Made Market. And because I was they knew that I was blogging, I also got an invitation to start contributing to marthastewart.com. And that was really a pivotal moment for me in my career in the lifestyle space. And if you've read my bio, you see that I've done some really incredible things in that space, but it all started with that moment when I made Martha my mentor. And I later found out through my sister, who was with Martha at an event, that she was the one who, I always thought so, but she was the one who handpicked Bambini Wear to join the brand. So that was me at an event taking advantage of a once-in-a-lifetime moment. So don't take those for granted. Nowadays, you don't actually have to physically attend an event, but I think when you go, always be intentional about what you want to get out of it. Networking events are great, professional associations. There are lots of associations that are out there that have student memberships or reduced student fees to attend conferences. So definitely take advantage of those. And then we sort of rank these last, but not least, I would say LinkedIn and social media groups. And although LinkedIn, as we all know, is a great place to put up all your professional accomplishments and so on and so forth and connect with people, it's not the best place to actually find a mentor, because usually the people you really want to mentor you are getting a lot of requests, a lot of messages, and it's really hard to kind of sort through that if you're just kind of cold calling someone. I would suggest, if you do want to go that route, to see who you're already connected with, who can maybe make an initial introduction for you on your behalf. Any questions about this list? Any other suggestions anyone wants to offer? Okay. So I'm a person who needs feedback. So was that helpful? Let me know. Raise your hand.
Just has one addition.
I have a sort of funny build off of that, Richie, that I had a friend who in business school always volunteered to be the person to pick up like the guest speaker from the airport when they would or something, because like they would not worry about the event where the speaker were there to be mobbed by a gazillion students, but they would get like 25 minutes of sort of one-on-one time on the way to and from the airport. So I thought that was a clever move.
Very smart.
Absolutely. I love that. In fact, I'll tell you guys a story that happened recently. When I came to Brown a few years ago, I reached out to BSU and I was like, hey, I haven't been to campus in years. Would someone be willing to give me a tour, maybe get some tea, whatever? And I had a great time. I think it was maybe 4 students and another student I went to lunch with. And one of the students actually recently signed up for my office hours. And I remembered her because she was the one who made the initial contact. And so that stayed with me. And so when we met, I did put a little bit more effort in making sure that all of her questions were asked. I let the session go over a bit because that meant something to me. In the middle of her busy day, she made sure that I had a good time while I was on campus. So Jonas, thank you for sharing that, because it does stay with people and you get that inside their ear that other people may not get. So Okay, let's go back to Lauren. The next slide is it a hot seat question? Is that what we have next?
It is.
Okay, so while I'm looking at everyone, who is going to volunteer to be in the first hot seat? Do we have someone? Oh, Alex, I love it. Okay, I feel good. I told them you were my student. You're sat in the front row and you volunteered first. I might throw in an extra prize for you just for that. All right, so what we want you to do, we're going to pose this question, and we just want you to give your honest answer. There's no right or wrong question. We just kind of want to use it to talk about this particular subject. All right. Okay. So can everyone see my screen again?
Yes.
Okay. So Alex, good news. You've received an email that you've been paired with a mentor who's also included in the message. What should you do next?
I think my first goal would be to respond punctually. I think especially when you are working with people who are definitely more senior than you, their time is very valuable. I also in that email would introduce myself, what my aims are, and ask them if there's anything particular, possibly maybe attaching my CV or resume, something to that nature. And also mention what my goals through our mentorship perhaps would be, what I'm hoping to get out of it, and also offer, I think mentorship relationship should also be reciprocal. So what possibly I could do to help them in some sort of instances.
I love it. I love it. One thing that I would suggest, and it's just a small thing, is in that email, like we're assuming here that there's a third party. What I would do is thank the third party, acknowledge the mentor, introduce yourself, and then say that you'll follow up under separate cover. That way you're kind of shifting that conversation where you include everything that you mentioned just in another trail. That's probably the only thing that I would ask. Did I hear though, I heard a lot of great things, but did you mention setting up a time? Was that in it as well?
She said no, but she'll do it.
Oh, okay. I wasn't trying to be funny. I just the audio was going in and out. So I just want to make sure I didn't miss it. So when you do follow up, you want to make sure that you are that you're setting up a time. And the main thing that I want all of you to take away from this is that you have to be proactive as a mentee. You have to initiate. Like the worst thing ever is when someone does a connection at the, an e-intro, and then it's the onus is on me, which it shouldn't be, as the mentor, to then reach out to the mentee. Okay, so always reach out in a timely fashion as well. Okay, don't let a week or so go by before you're actually reaching out. And Lauren, I'll let you, if there's anything else you want to add.
It's Liz. Hi, Richie. I just wanted to add to what you said because I've been working with students and mentees, mentors for like over 6 years. If you put in, I know this is such a small thing, but to add to what Richie was saying, put in options in the first email to me. Like, I'm just gonna make 3 or 4 suggestions for times just to kick it off. It just might eliminate one back and forth email. And then if they're on Brown's campus, most likely they use Google Calendar, and you can search people's names, and you can really impress the faculty by just saying, "Hey, I saw that you're available. Does this work?" So simple, but it just saves a bunch of back and forth. Yeah.
That's definitely a great tip. The only other thing that I would say is, especially if you've been paired with someone, and so if there's a third party there that has actually brought you together with this person, feel free to explain a little bit about why you're excited to work with them. Why are you excited for them to be your mentor? What are you looking forward to, and how can they actually help you? You'll get into that in your first meeting a little bit, but just having that preview to let them know that there's a very specific reason why you want to work with them and be in connection with them, I think could be really impactful. And on to hot seat question number 2.
Awesome. So I just want to stop really quickly and say, Alex, you have won another $25 gift card, Amazon gift card. So far we have Alexis and we have Alex. I don't know if there's any other form of Alex in the room, but anyone is welcome now to do the next hot seat question.
I was just saying, I feel like we're on Oprah. You get a gift card. Who's going to expect this at Nelson Center?
All right.
Okay, and what's your name?
Hala.
What is it?
Hala. H-A-L-A.
Hi, nice to meet you. Okay, so Hala, we will go back to sharing our screen. Let's see. Oh, here we are. Okay. All right, next question. Congratulations, you've met with your mentor and it's clear that you're off to a great start. What should you do next?
So one, in a timely fashion, I think I'll follow up with an email, just reminding them of when we met and also that it was so great that they took the time to meet with me. And then I would, if there's any follow-up questions, I would follow up a question, hopefully leading to another, setting up another meeting in the near future, and also saying that we would stay connected or hope that we would connect soon.
Awesome, awesome. Lauren, I just realized though, I guess we can do it after this slide, but I want to go through sort of the meat of what we're doing in the session. So we can do that, I guess, after this slide. But I'll let you respond to her answers first. Absolutely. And then I'll add a couple things.
I think that those are all really great points. Timely response, brainstorming some follow-up questions. The only other thing I would say is at least for me, writing that email almost right after we hang up is really, really helpful because one, I know I'm not going to forget about it. And if I'm not really sure I want to send it, I can type it up and put it in my drafts or schedule, send it, or whatever it might be. But at least I know that I've written it. At least I have a clear picture of our conversation. And then I also have a chance to think about what's next and set a timetable for that. And so I think that at least actually writing out that email as soon as you can and figuring out when the best time to send it can be is really valuable. The only other thing I would say is thank them for their time over and over again. You know, acknowledge that they're probably pretty busy. Riche and I talk all the time, but I know that she has a million different photo shoots and TV series and Martha Stewart things going on. And so I always make sure to say, hey, I know you have a lot on your plate right now. Again, I really appreciate you taking the time to meet. It was really helpful to me for XYZ reasons. And next time we meet, I hope to talk about 1, 2, 3 things. So just basically framing that out, depending on the type of mentor that it is, whether it's like career or personal or even academic, you'll kind of find your fit there, but I think that can be a really good framework.
So I have a question, actually.
Sure.
If the person that you're being connected to isn't necessarily like a formal mentor, but agrees to meet with you and you want to have that follow-up email, how do you like foster that relationship further and make it into a mentoring relationship? Yeah.
Okay, so I think the question was, and this is just the audio, I just want to make sure I got it right. If you have like sort of a casual relationship with someone, maybe you just met through an informal introduction through a friend, and then you want to turn that into a formal relationship, mentoring relationship. Is that
yes,
pretty accurate? Okay, let me actually stop sharing for a second. Okay. So I think this happens all the time. One of my mentees, funny story, I always have a funny story for you guys. I was in Pier 1 a few years ago, and I was shopping for plates because tablescaping is my thing. And the sales woman was helping me, young woman, maybe like at the time she was like early 20s. And she was so good. And I pulled her aside and I was like, hey, do you have other goals beyond Pier 1? Because I think you really have something here. And so my husband always gets on me because I'm like always volunteering mentorship out. But I said, let's get together and talk about your goals, because there was something in her that I saw. And based on her answers, I figured she needed a little help kind of fleshing them out. And that was really literally in the aisles of Pier 1. And we would just meet over lunch every few months. And she is one of the people who I can say, I really am happy that I took the time to talk to her and really help her along her way. But that was casual, and it stayed very casual. I don't know if we've ever emailed. I think it's all been just text, and it's like every few months. So sometimes, you know, it can stay casual. If you wanted to make it into a more formal relationship, then I think a starting question could be asking about if you can set up some regular times to set some check-ins. You know, you don't have to use formal language to make it into a formal relationship, but I think Lauren and I have talked about this before, like what's the best cadence when you're starting a new relationship, and, you know, a monthly coffee, a check-in, a Zoom, but that's a way that you can slowly ease it into it becoming like a regular thing without kind of getting really super formal. Like, I would like you to be my formal mentor. I mean, you can do that, but sometimes that kind of scares people away. You kind of have to gauge the relationship, and if it lends itself to something more formal, then the kind of language you use is always indicative of kind of like how you want things to go. You can do email versus text, but certainly I think there are lots of different ways that you could go about that. And personal connection is so important. I mean, I've had people who have come to office hours, or who have I've been kind of matched with through mentoring organizations who weren't necessarily the best fits. I mean, overall, I think I've been pretty lucky, but I do expect a lot from my mentees. Like, if I'm giving my time, I expect you to put in the same amount of effort. If I'm giving you an assignment to do that's going to help you, I need you to do it. So I think the most important thing, more so than formal versus informal, is just really having a connection with that person, and everything else will grow organically. That was a good question. So Lauren, I thought maybe, and Hala, you have also won a $25 Amazon gift card. So Lauren's going to make sure that we have everyone's email addresses so that you can get your prizes. But I thought we could pause here and talk about sort of some of the things that you discuss in your first meeting with your mentor. I feel like it's so important to start off on a good foot. I've had meetings that haven't gone so well, and then, you know, the relationship doesn't actually grow because that first meeting was rocky. So Lauren, do you have any thoughts you'd like to kind of throw out there first, or would you like me to? I'm open.
To kick it off, the first thing that I would say is, after you've sent that initial email, hey, can we meet? Can we have a phone call? Can we meet via Zoom? Let's grab coffee, whatever way you decide to meet. Before you get to that meeting, do some searching, do some LinkedIn searching, do some searches. Honestly, in terms of what work that person has done, I always go to the news section actually of Google, because you can find old articles that have been written about the person that you're trying to get to mentor you. And also get a feel for what sort of personal connections you may have. Are you from the same place? Did you work for the same company? Is there anyone in your LinkedIn circle who's connected with them? Drawing on all of those types of similarities can actually build a really good foundation for that initial conversation that may be a little awkward at first, especially if it isn't someone that you know very well. And so I would say, just walking into that first meeting, prepared with your questions, again, prepared with the reason why you want to meet with them both in that moment, but also why you want to have a relationship in the first place. And ultimately going in and giving it your best shot. You know, we'll talk about some do's and don'ts, and there's no perfect way to execute that first meeting, but you want to come in looking prepared and polished and like you truly want to be there. And so that they know that you're not wasting their time and that you came in with a purpose. And so I think that those are all really valuable things to bring to the table as a mentee. But Richie, feel free to touch on the mentor piece. What do you like to see in that first meeting?
Yeah, I like to see that you're prepared, that you've done your research, that you also know a little bit about me, because that means you actually took the time to, excuse me, to see, okay, how can this person actually help me? Right. And Lauren, I want to just say, I do appreciate all the time when you say, I know you're busy, because a lot of people don't say that. And it's like, oh God, you're asking me for one more thing. Do you have any idea what I'm going through right now? But it's good when you acknowledge what someone's doing, and when you ask questions about what they're doing. I think too, in terms of your ask, being very clear about what that is. So if you are seeking mentorship for a specific purpose. Like I've mentored students with their B-Lab applications, their BVP applications, or their specific ventures. Be very clear about what your ask is regarding those, or if it's in general. Some students have come to office hours, and those are like mini mentoring sessions, and they just want to talk about their lives. Sometimes they just want to hear it's okay if you don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your life right now. And they want to hear my story, and that makes them feel better. But always be clear about what your ask is. And then also, if someone says, do you have any more questions? I mean, maybe you don't, but it's always nice to just at least sneak one in there, because that shows me that you've been paying attention. So sometimes you can just write a list like, hey, if I run out of things to say, these are like my go-to questions. Because if I'm just talking, and I'm giving you like my best and I get nothing back, like that makes me feel like I might have wasted a little bit of time. But I would keep that in mind. And then, I talked about having a personal connection, but I want to just clarify. When I use the word personal, I mean, just in terms of like you have a good rapport with that person. Lauren and I, honestly, like we didn't even start texting until, I don't know, maybe like almost a year after we had gotten to know each other just through our regular meetings. And then as we grew, we got more comfortable with talking about, things outside of our direct mentoring relationship with her venture or with things going on at Brown. We talk about our families. We talk about me lamenting over, my new puppy who's been driving me crazy. So, but that you grow to that. So just be careful in the beginning not to ask questions that are too personal, and not to, volunteer too much either. Just, let it grow. And it will. I can say that our relationship has grown really organically, and it just, I can just text Lauren now and she can do the same thing because we took the time to really build our relationship. Okay. So questions though from our audience. Does anyone have any questions about that first meeting, which typically you want to keep between 30 minutes. If it goes over, that's fine, but never ask anyone for more of an hour of their time. Initially, I would even just say, stay 30 minutes, and then that person can just come back with, oh, maybe next time let's do an hour. But questions?
The only other thing I would add to that is keep an eye on the clock while you are talking to that person. They might have a meeting, they might be having a great time talking to you, but if it's 2:30 or it's 2:29 and it's time to wrap up, you be the one to sort of wrap up and say, hey, I acknowledge that we have about a minute left. I'm not sure if you have a hard stop, but I really appreciate your time. Just be cognizant throughout the whole conversation of how much time of theirs you are taking up. But they should ultimately be the ones to extend the time if they find that helpful.
Absolutely. And one thing, Lauren, that I remember you talking about in our brainstorming session was, your schedule best. Like, do not schedule a meeting when you are like in between classes and you really can't give your best to this initial meeting, because those first impressions are lasting. So make sure that you look at your schedule and pick a time when you can dedicate your full attention to meeting with this person.
And if it's during midterms, then take a beat and wait a week and then meet with them. Don't try to meet with them when you have a million things going on in both your head and on your calendar. Yeah, I can absolutely say that that's worked best for us. Like during holidays, if things are stressful, it's like, hey, I just want to say happy holidays, but we're not going to do any work, like seriously checking in until, we get back in the swing of things, and that's okay. But you don't want to force it when you don't have to. Okay. Lauren, we now are on our do's and don'ts. And the do's?
Yes, that's you, right? Or is that me?
That's me.
Oh, that's me. Okay. Yeah, Lauren knows I'm scatterbrained sometimes, so thank you for bringing me back. Okay. So I did mention this, identify your goals that you would like to achieve through this relationship. You need to do that internally first before you share. And, make your list. You can have a long list in your mind, but in terms of like your initial list, it should be just maybe like your top 3. Okay. And then be clear about your ask. Remember, I told you the Martha Stewart story. Like when you have an opportunity like that, you want to be absolutely clear on your ask. So that's different than, so a clear ask is like, hi, wondering if you can get this package, hand deliver it to Martha. An unclear ask is like, hi, I loved talking with you. I was wondering if maybe we could jump on a call sometime in the next month. Like, people at that level don't have time to just jump on a call and just, chat it up. So that's why you want to be very specific about the ask. And that makes that person's job much easier. If you say, and that's why we ask in office hours, like we expect you to fill out, like, what are you coming to the office hours to do? And that way I can prepare ahead of time. Sometimes I don't know a lot of things that I have to do research on, but help that person help you by making the ask really specific. And then they're more likely to actually help you. Have realistic expectations of your mentor. I mean, I like to say I know a little about a lot of things, but I don't know everything, and I don't know everyone either. So sometimes I feel like people I haven't seen this a lot in my case, but sometimes people will try to take advantage of the fact that, okay, this person is my mentor and they know so-and-so. And so I'm going to have this person as my mentor to try to get to, this next person in whatever industry. And so, that's not really, if that happens organically, then great. But that's not really why you want to enter into a relationship, a mentoring relationship with someone to get to these two other people, at least in the beginning, right? My camera just shut off. Okay, it's back. And then realistic expectations, like, I am here to help you. Mentors are here to help you, but they're not here to do your work for you. I can't tell you how annoying it is when applications for whatever pitch competition are due, and then I have to reach out to you to say, hey, I haven't heard from you about this part of the application. If you want me to read it, I need to get it in, or you need to get it to me by this time. Otherwise, I'm just not going to have time to do it. And you'd be surprised how many students wait until the last minute. And then I have to say, I'm sorry, I just can't, because I've got things to do in my life as well. We talked about establishing a cadence, that works best for both of your schedules and your needs. Sometimes that could be, we like to, say just once a month, but maybe depending on what's going on, there might have to be like a weekly check-in until the project gets done, but make sure that it works again on both sides. Communicate what you would like to discuss before you meet. I love that Lauren does this. Like, I don't necessarily ask for it, but she does it and I love it. She lays out exactly what we need to go over. And this is something I've never asked her to do, but it makes the meetings run more efficiently. And even though we do have now an informal connection, it feels nice to have that structure in the conversation. And then show gratitude for your mentor's time and effort. Like, a little thank you goes a long way. You don't have to, lay it on thick, but just, thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the effort you took to help me with this. I mean, that means a whole lot, because when you're giving your time away as a mentor, that is the most valuable asset you have. And if you don't get a thank you, it almost feels like, wow, I could have been doing something else. I could have been helping someone else. So always, always, always do that. Okay, so those are my do's. Now, Lauren, let's get some don'ts.
Don'ts, okay. Don't say, I'd love to talk to you. Let's schedule a 5-minute call, 15-minute call, and then not say anything. This happened to me before. It's happened to Richie before. Because also the person that you emailed is not going to remember that you emailed them. That's just going to go right out of their brain. They're way too busy to remember what's on your mind. So it's up to you to both send that initial email and schedule a time. And if your mentor doesn't respond at first, maybe they have a lot going on. I think, Richie, you tell me your opinion on this, but I think following up a week later, 10 days later is totally fine. I don't think people mind that reminder often.
No, not at all. I need that. I tell people, listen, do not take it personally if I don't get back to you right away. Just don't feel bad about that. And I hope that the people who are comfortable enough to reach out to me are okay with that. I mean, I don't think it's really been a deterrent for anyone. And sort of like, hey, I know she's busy. And I appreciate that, because I do forget to follow up. And that's why we ask that you as a mentee, make sure that you're in the driver's seat, kind of controlling everything in terms of the communication and follow-ups and so on and so forth.
Right, absolutely. And so to that end, also don't expect your mentor to drive the relationship. You are the one putting this ask out there. You should be the one to fully execute it and make sure that it is going the way that you expected. If you find that in the first couple of conversations that you're having with your mentor that, things aren't running very efficiently, or you're not quite getting the advice that you expected or that you need, take a second to reflect on what your initial ask was before necessarily criticizing the mentor or your relationship with them overall. So take some time to self-reflect and say, did I ask the right questions for what I wanted to get out of this? Did I pick the right person? Go back to your notes for why you picked this mentor in the first place. And I think that can be a really helpful exercise, especially when something like a pandemic hits and you haven't talked to your mentor in a while. It can be a really nice refresher for why you tried to ignite this relationship in the first place. Some of these other points we've kind of covered on the do's side. We covered the opposites. But don't cancel your meetings at the last minute. We've all had those times where, most recently you wake up to like 1.5 feet of snow and you're like, I don't really want to go to this class, or I don't really want to go to this meeting. With these types of things, you really only can get this person's time once a month or maybe once every other month. And so really take advantage, kind of buck up and get in the meeting. It's going to be 30 minutes, take notes and go on with your day. But the last thing you want to do is let someone down, especially when they've set that time aside. Last point, don't try to force a connection if it's not there. There are a lot of different personalities in this world, and there are also a lot of people that have their own approach to how mentorship should work from both the mentee and the mentor side. If you feel like you've done everything you can as a mentee and like your mentor isn't really vibing with you, for lack of a better word, or if this relationship isn't just really what you expected, after you've taken that time to self-reflect and after you've kind of consulted a few people, I would also recommend that you do that. Then you can sort of come to the conclusion that, hey, this may not be the most fruitful relationship for either of you. Maybe it's not the best use of your mentor's time, and maybe it's not the best use of your time as a mentee. And so taking the time to actually reflect on that, I think, can be really important. And also don't be afraid to bring in trusted friends, trusted professors, and other advisors to say, hey, look, this is the situation. The last thing I want to do is offend someone or make them think that I'm ungrateful. But at the end of the day, this isn't really working for me, and I would love to know how to navigate this relationship going forward. And so you can always seek advice from other people. You don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen, but don't be afraid to reach out to the adults who you trust the most.
Can I add?
Yes.
So this has happened to me a couple of times. And if your mentor opens up a connection to you from their professional network, it's a very gracious act. Don't ignore that, because they've gone out on a limb and you are not getting back to that connection reflects poorly on them, because you've trusted that they're going to gain something from that relationship. So that's one thing I would add. Because I think people get afraid to make that connection. Don't be afraid. They've made it for you. Take advantage of it.
I definitely plus one that. I have gotten scared before, and I haven't answered emails before, and I still regret it to this day because those people are famous now. But for those, and just go ahead and drop the email saying thanks so much for the connection. I'd love to follow up with you afterwards. Do all those things in the moment before you chicken out, because they really do matter and they can actually help you in the long run. All right. Any other do's and don'ts from people here that you know? I don't know if we have any suggestions, but I know we have a lot of people from different fields. So, Liz?
Don't write a long intro email. Keep it short. Bullet points.
Bullet points, 3 sentences max.
Yeah.
They only have so much time.
Yeah, I think too, some of the things you might be able to just link to as well. Some of the things that you might feel compelled to like write in a in narrative form, you might just be able to link to your LinkedIn profile, and that takes care of a lot as well. But yeah, a long email is a little scary sometimes when it's first thing, because I feel bad because like I do want to read everything, but sometimes it's just like you don't have the time. And then it's like, as a mentor, I'm like, okay, what does this mean for the rest of our relationship? Am I going to get long emails like this all the time? So definitely keep it on the shorter side first, and then you can build to the longer stuff if you need to, but don't scare anyone away.
One thing I just remembered that I wanted to say really quickly, it was in the earlier part of the presentation when we were talking about how to make that initial meeting happen. A lot of times mentors now are using different kind of calendar links to sign up. You can even ask them, hey, instead of me throwing out times to meet, do you have a link to your calendar where I can actually sign up for a slot? And honestly, I've come across, especially in entrepreneurship, a lot of people that are using Google Calendar and Calendly just to organize their time a lot better. And so that can be one less email, again, that you have to send asking them what their availability is.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we do have, I think we're nearing the 1 o'clock hour, but we do have some time for questions just in general. And we do have, Lauren, I think there are a couple questions from the ones that came in that we haven't answered. So we can just kind of do some quick answers to those as well. But this is the time when you can ask any question that's been on the burning question that's been on your mind that you haven't asked related to what we've been talking about, or related to what we've been talking about. Let's stick with that.
We have some questions to pull too, but any questions here?
What if you've been assigned to a mentor, but you haven't the foggiest idea what is appropriate to ask or what you'd like to ask about? I mean, you're like a first year or you're a founder, you don't really have a sense of where to go with that relationship.
This is what questions how do you know what questions to ask?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
To ask of a mentor.
What's appropriate to ask of a mentor when you are first meeting them?
Okay. So I think it depends on what your goals are. And even if you have like really big goals to come out of the relationship, I wouldn't just kind of put all those out there in the beginning. I think the initial meeting is really a time to get to know the person, ask about their career path, ask about, there's different ways you could do this. If it's a mentor you are connected with through Brown, you can ask about their Brown experience, their concentration, things like that. And then you weave in what you're ultimately looking to get out of the relationship in terms of your goals. But again, like I said, if they're big goals, break them off into bite-sized pieces so that it doesn't feel overwhelming on either side. But the go-to questions are always the easiest questions are when you ask people about themselves. Like those are not hard questions at all. People love to talk about themselves. So what made you decide to go into this versus this? And what was the pivotal moment when you knew that you wanted to leave the firm? So those are always safe questions to ask. And then if there's specific questions in that moment that you about what you're doing at that time, then go ahead and ask them. But remember that this initial conversation is not the time to just dump everything in and get everything resolved. So hopefully that was helpful. You want to look at this as like hopefully a long-term relationship, or at least a semester-long relationship where you can just build on each conversation.
Absolutely. Should we do one question from our list, and then we'll let these
Yes. Someone asked, what is it appropriate to have more than one mentor? Absolutely, but I would caution you not to have too many. Too many cooks in the kitchen can just be a lot. So you can have think about what your goals are for each mentor. If you want to have an academic mentor, a professional mentor, a personal life goals mentor, a spiritual mentor, like I would look at them in terms of like what specific benefit you are seeking to gain from this particular relationship versus just having a list of mentors just for the sake of having them, because you really do want to get something out of these relationships. And then Lauren, let's have you, what are the benefits of having a mentor that may not be an expert in your subject area of study? Do you want to handle that one?
Absolutely. It's interesting because I've tried to find the right mentor before. Richie has obviously been my favorite mentor so far, but I've had a lot of fails, honestly. I've tried to wiggle my way into mentor-mentee relationships that just didn't really fit right and didn't fit my interests. And I was kind of just doing it because this person said, hey, this person's really popular on campus. They know what they're talking about. You should go meet with them. And I didn't quite know how to navigate that relationship. And so ultimately what I would say is the benefit of having a mentor can really be the personal development side. Even if you're not interested in what they're doing career-wise or in any other area, learn their story. Learn how they got from point A to point B and try to pick up lessons and advice along the way with that, because you can carry that with you for the rest of your life. It's not just going to be at Brown. It's not just going to be in your first job. It's going to help you well beyond that. And I think that those life lessons and at least reflecting on other people's life experiences can be a really helpful way to figure out how to navigate your own life and figure out what's next for you. And so I've definitely done that with Richie many, many, many times. We've also gone over personal things like how to make a vision board, and in the middle of a pandemic when everything is really sad and you have no goals and all sorts of things like that, which is how I was feeling, a year ago. And so we've really gone through several exercises on how to sort of uplift yourself and actually maintain your goals and stay motivated and stay hungry for the next opportunity, which can be really, really helpful when you're in a bit of a lull. And so I think that those are at least two ways that having a mentor has impacted me. And I think you can find that with a lot of people that you may not necessarily have overlap in terms of their career pathway. So that's what I would say.
You mean, Lauren, you're not interested in tablescaping? What? What? That is a shock to me.
Term, I didn't even know that. So I'm taking that from you.
All right. Well,
All right. So unless there are no more questions, we just want to I think wrap it up, Lauren, with our announcement.
Absolutely. Want to screen share and we can.
Okay.
And just so that everyone knows, I know, Richie, we're approaching the time of classes, so I think people are going to have to go pretty soon.
Okay.
But we are launching a new initiative starting this month at the Nelson Center, and that is a drive for Black alums to get a part of our mentorship network here at the Nelson Center. So over the course of the next few months, we're going to send out some personal requests really to get a bigger pool of Black entrepreneurs and people that are involved in the entrepreneurial landscape all around the world involved in the Nelson Center and connected with Black students at Brown. And so just know that that initiative is happening. We would love your support and we would love for you to sign up. And so just keep an eye out for those, the information that will go out on that. And Richie, anything to add on that front?
I just want to say that it's growing. We are we're trying this out. This is the first time we're doing this. So be patient with us, but this is something that I wish that I had when I was there. And in fact, one of my mentors who actually is a Brown alum who gave me a summer job here in Maryland, signed up. And so I'm excited about that. I'm excited about people I know who are in sort of my contemporaries and even older who want to give back. So absolutely, please participate when you get the information. Share this with your friends, because we as alums, we want to give you things that we didn't have when we were there. So that's what I'll say about that. And then last but not least, I do want to make an announcement. This is a time sensitive matter. If anyone is interested, the Rhode Island Coalition of Black Women has, I think it's an 8-month-long mentorship program. One of my students who comes to office hours shared with me that her mentor was the Deputy Secretary of State of Rhode Island, which is like a really big deal. So there's some powerful women involved in this. So feel free to snap a screenshot of this. The deadline is February 22nd. Apply or share with friends. And that's all I have, Lauren. These are our email addresses. You can feel free to reach out to us. I have office hours every 2 weeks, starting up again next week. So you can reach me through the Nelson Center website, or, well, that's the best way to sign up for office hours. If you have a non-office hour question, you can email me here.